Welcome everybody to God's Got Jokes, and so do we. This is Betsy and Joe, and we're back with you with the third episode. How's it going?
It's going. I literally just pulled a chicken bone out of Leon's mouth before
Leon.
we sat down to do this and put a Lego set together with Jack. So I'm good. I'm stable.
Hey, and that Lego set has a light in the thing, and now it lights up. So that's pretty cool. It's got like 5,000 pieces. So the joy of having children, huh?
Yes, he is so
Yeah.
excited. So that's what I was doing for this.
Well, that's fun. I wasn't doing anything, I don't think. I think I was taking a shower and putting water in the swimming pool. So what a Saturday night, can't beat that.
We've come a long way.
We have come a long way. So I remember closing bars down on a Saturday night, not the house.
Yeah.
So, oh, fun. Okay, so tonight, obviously for the last two episodes, first episodes, we introduced ourselves. In the second episode, which couldn't have come at a better time, we talked about contentment and discontentment and all that good stuff. So then Betsy and I were talking, and we have been thinking about a name for this podcast, and yeah, I'm just extra. So I was like, we can call it the beer perspective. We can call it I was just thinking of other stuff, and she's like, let's just call it Guys Got Jokes, and then we just kind of added so do we, and hopefully Apple takes the name. If not, then y'all might find us under something else, but we don't know. But anyway, so we thought it'd be good to get together and just talk about the name. So, Betsy, why was that name put on your heart?
Yeah. So after we recorded last time on contentment, it was so crazy because I felt like me and you were not content at all. So that was kind of a roller coaster.
Hey, I admit it, I struggle with it.
I know. And so that got my head spinning on why God's got jokes and so do we. That seems to be a common theme in our marriage and in our life. Like the very things we don't want to do or the very people we may not feel like we want to get close to. Our paths always open or aligned to be pressed into these places. So much so that it's almost comical if people even saw the conversation leading up to some of the situations and people we do life with that had had they heard my real thoughts and then where God has me, they'll laugh. Example.
Give us an example, because I always I was sitting there thinking, I think we talked about this on another podcast, but like, you are the problem. So
I am the
you are
problem.
the problem. But
Okay.
give us example.
Well, this is the first example that came to my head, and it is a church example, and it's safe. But I went on a retreat with our church and as a guest and absolutely hated it. One of the most unpleasant experiences of my life. So much so.
No shade to the people that put it on. They did a great job putting it on. You just went in with a bad attitude. So let's all be honest here.
Okay, well, yes, they did great. Okay, that's what I'm saying. I be having thoughts.
You do?
So I had thoughts, and it was hard for probably many reasons. And I show up to team, and one of the people that I was a guest with together, like they knew how miserable I was and came up to me and was like, "Oh my goodness, you're back." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "You're going to team this thing?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "You hated it." And I'm like, "I know. I did." And what is so crazy is that has been a tool in the toolbox that has really been something that the Lord has taken and allowed my faith walk with Him to grow so quickly and rapidly and just been such a vessel for our marriage too. So it's the one thing that I dug my heels in and was miserable in is probably one of the things that has had a greater impact on us.
See, I think that's funny because you were miserable. And I will tell y'all, when she was on that retreat, you wasn't supposed to have your cell phone. And she was like calling me on one of the nights and was like, "Hey, just come swing out here and get me." And I was like, "No." And the bad thing is, she went with her best buddy, Nicole, and they both was miserable. And Phil Nicole's husband, me and him were so excited for them to get to go. And I remember we met y'all that like Saturday night. We were like, oh, we can't wait to see them. And y'all looked miserable. I remember Philip looked at me. He was like, Bessie looks like she about to beat somebody up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But the obedience of like doing it now to see like that ministry and just other ministries and where it's taken you and the relationships that it's formed throughout everything and just what you're doing now in your life. It all started on that weekend you didn't want to go on.
I know. So I like to think that I do think God's got a sense of humor.
Oh, he laughs in the Bible.
So I can't wait for one night to cackle with him. And I just feel like he's like, there goes that idiot again. And it's me. It's me because I tend to be the problem.
Uh-huh.
So, yes. Anyway, all that to say, this right here is comical because I have thoughts. And obviously, we're not the first people to try to jump out and record something. And look, God's working on me. And so, this was the last thing on my radar to ever want to do or have a desire to do in the sense of putting yourself out there. And here we are.
And I think it's funny. Like I know we're gonna talk about obedience and God's got jokes, but like I said, I mean he laughs in the Bible. Like I do think he has jokes, and just to see us sitting here and him just allowing us to say his name, kind of it feels a little overwhelming, you know. And then I think in the obedience, I know I've seen it throughout my life, and I'm sure you have too, especially these last couple of years, like stepping out and doing something and being like, Lord, like, I feel like you told me to do this. And now I feel like an idiot. Like, or like, why did you tell me to do this? Like, this blows, like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then you're so far into it. He's like, just go, just keep going, one foot in front of the other. And I feel like we've been doing that a lot lately.
Yeah, for me, it looks more like WWE. Me
Yeah.
and him are in a straight up wrestling match more than sitting and kumbaya about daydreaming about. Yeah, it's more me resisting than me being like, give and say, okay. So the fact that he even allows me to continue to serve him despite that, it blows my mind too. Cause yeah, I can be
But
a little hard headed.
yeah, but I think that's funny too because like when you think about like serving the Lord, like if somebody's sitting out there right now and they're like, I want to serve the Lord, like I want to serve the Lord. Sometimes like you look out and you think it's just like sunshine and roses, like it's so great, and it is great to serve the Lord. It is the best non-paying job you will ever have in your life is to serve Jesus and bring people into His kingdom, even though He don't need you. But it is nice when you get to be used as a vessel for that. But I think you look at that and you're like, "Oh, that looks so much fun." But once you get into it, you're like, "This is hard."
Yeah.
Because you working for the big boss. Like, you're working like I mean, you wanna make sure if he was coming here today and said, "You giving all you got," I wanna be able to say, "I'm giving all I got to whatever he's asked me to do."
Yes, and I feel like there's been some people that I follow that are on way bigger platform that I've heard them say specifically, like, "You don't want this."
Mhm.
What I'm doing in the sense of the territory that it comes with serving the Lord. It is joyful and it is all the things, but also you're going against the world, and so it's not easy.
You got a bunch of Judgy Judys out there, and it
Including
may
me.
shoot, me too.
I'm a recovering
What?
judgmental
Hey, you
Christian.
stole my line. I was about to say that too. I tell people that all the time. Right when I get up to give my testimony or whatever talk, I say, look, I'm a recovering judgmental Christian.
I'm telling
I
you,
really am. And some of you probably listen to this podcast need to
judging
be
me.
need
You're probably
judging right
judging me.
now, and you need to become a recovering judgmental Christian.
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons why I am not comfortable doing things that are remotely public or outside of our little circle of our family is because I know I have thoughts. Like
Hmm.
I struggle to not have thoughts about people. I joke with a friend, like, if I die, take my phone. Not that that's right, but I know how I can be, and so in my weakness and simple state. So to remotely put myself out there, it we've talked about this, I think, the first episode. It feels like imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to speak of these things? And so in saying that, that led me. I was studying Jeremiah a couple weeks ago, and it's one of those things I've read it before, but this kind of leaps off the page. And in Jeremiah 1, it's when God calls Jeremiah to become a prophet, and the Lord calls on Jeremiah, and his response is in verse 6. He said, I don't know how to speak, and I'm too young. And then
Mm,
the Lord says, do not say I'm too young. You must go to everyone I send you and say whatever I command you. And then later on in the little study notes and professor that I was listening to was talking about when he's talking about being too young, he was talking about really experience. I don't have enough experience, lack of self confidence there. And gosh, that struck me like a ton of bricks in the sense of like, even recording this with you, which is just conversations, it's revealed areas where I maybe thought I was dependent on the Lord, but I really struggle to do that. And so Jeremiah goes on later on, and we get to chapter 20, which is kind of knee deep into the book. And he says, let me, I have it right here. Oh yeah. Okay. He says, but if I say I will not mention his word or speak anymore in his name, his word is in my heart like a fire, and a fire shut
mm,
up in my bones. I'm weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. And so I think that was just an aha moment, because if you read Jeremiah's story, nobody would want to sign up to be Jeremiah. Yes, he heard from the Lord, and yes, he got to do a mighty thing proclaiming his truth, but he's also known as the weeping prophet. It was not pretty. It was
yeah.
an ugly life.
Hmm.
And but then in the same sentence, here's this man saying, like, if I don't speak Jesus's name, like this is gonna burn up within me. And I think that's where I got to this place doing this with you is what a joy that Jesus has done in our marriage and in our family. And who are we to not say, hey, we don't have it figured out and we're still struggling, but there is a better way.
Yes.
And I want that message of forgiveness, of sin, forgiveness that me and you have to practice daily with each other because we're just two broken people trying to figure out this life. My kids, I want that so deep in with me that I don't care. Like,
Hmm.
I don't care what the world says as long as the Lord looks at us and says, you know, well done, good and faithful servant.
Yeah. I think that's a struggle too. Like talking about the prophets. I know that, like, obviously doing the Bible recap in a year and stuff like that. Like, it's in Isaiah right now. And I think Tara Lee said today when I was listening, I'm like a day behind. But like, who would really want to be Isaiah? Like, he's sitting there, he's saying these things, and they're gonna come true. But they're looking at him like, the Lord's told you to do that. The Lord's telling you that. Like, you're getting these prophecies and you're saying them, and they wouldn't come true till later on. And I think that's just like the fruit of our labor that the Lord asks us to do. It may not be immediate gratification. Like, you may never see it whatsoever. Like, you may be thinking to yourself right now, if you're listening, like, oh, I want to start a life group or I want to do this. And you're like, well, maybe not. Why would the Lord ask somebody like me to do this? But then when you step out on that obedience, you never know what that obedience will show down the road. Like, if you feel led to do that, I'm going to encourage you right now to do that because I think you may not see the fruits of the labor right now, but maybe down the road, or maybe you'll never see anything. But just working for the Lord, like just working for Him is just so much fun.
And I think obedience has a ripple effect. We talked many times about before the stories of people who have come to faith just because somebody was doing one faithful thing that, whether that was teaching kids in Sunday school or being nice and opening up the door, and that led to a conversation. The ripple effect of obedience is deeper and wider. And I feel like I got hung up so that the hindrance for me was sin. In my mind, I knew had a deep ripple effect that lasted and is ugly and it can go through generations. And that's all I could focus on and see. And I'll be honest, I think that's probably where part of my parenting has come from. And even in my marriage, it's like, I don't want to. be that way, which is not wrong because I know the damage and how long lasting, but something the Lord has been so patient to remind me when I was like, "What are we doing? Why are we why are you want us to talk on these microphones? This is the
or do anything.
strangest
I'll be thinking about I'll be
thing."
like, Jesus, like, there's so many more better people out there than me. Like, why are you giving me the field to do this? Any of it.
But I had to come back to this idea of, like, obedience has a ripple effect, and it is deep, and it is lasting through the generations, and it can impact others, and so I pray that the world does not ever remember my name. I pray that they only remember his, and to God be the glory. So, our lives, our marriage, our family is marked by the fingerprint of God. Like, when we leave a room, it's not like, "Oh," you know, gloating on us, like, "Oh, like, something was different there, and I can't put my finger on it, and
Mhm.
hopefully that's Jesus." But, you talking about Isaiah, I had this verse written down. It says, the fruit of that righteousness will be peace. Its effect will be quietness and confidence forever." And I think when you can lean in and trust the Lord in the hard places, that's obviously where growth happens. But I think the spiral and the crazy that's happened since we've even been recording this, which is so silly because it's gone to like 3 people, so it ain't even like it's going.
And they've been giving us good feedback. I've been asking them for honest feedback too.
Well, I mean, it ain't even like it's Mr. Worldwide
Yeah,
right now,
no.
and it's already a crazy train on
Ooh.
my mind, but I realize my trigger is doing something new with the Lord, meaning said retreat that I didn't like when I've gone back and been a teamer and been able to be in a little bit more of a leadership role. I don't have not that I don't spiral and wrestle with the Lord, and it's not a growth walk in there, but the more times I do these rhythms within this ministry with the Lord, the more that my confidence has grown and I can take bigger and bolder steps within that confines of that ministry faithfully, like, be obedient and not think twice about it and truly surrender to the Lord. And what I realized is, like, this recording thing, like, this is a new thing that he is doing. This is uncharted territory.
Mhm.
I can't see it. I can't feel it. It's weird.
I could
It's
just see you.
awkward.
Mhm.
I know. It's weird and it's awkward. And instead of leaning into and be like, "Oh my gosh, we're getting to do a new thing for the Lord and like, let's be excited and to him, let's praise." That is not. It's like,
Mm.
it's an internal battle of, "What? Like, what?"
But see, I feel like that too. I mean, just prime example. Like I remember, like this little young married class that we felt like the Lord wanted us to like start or whatever. And I think you felt it before I did, but I'll never forget. I look at you and I say, "We need to." I feel like the Lord's telling me to start this new life group, and it's just crazy because we were in a life group that was good. It was good. It was like lots of people in it, and I was just like, all of a sudden, like I feel like it's time. Like let's go do something else. And I'll never forget. I'm like, Lord, why would you give Betsy and I even the desire to reach out to these young married couples? I mean, it's not like we've been married that long. Like, what do we,
Yeah,
it's
and
just
we
like
don't
that.
know what we're
It's just
doing.
like that. Say just creek sounds like you're not good enough for this. Like you shouldn't do this. And then I remember the first Sunday we did it. And I was like, ain't nobody gonna show up. Ain't nobody gonna show up. Like, what if nobody shows up? And I remember you saying, like, well, we go the next Sunday. Like we just keep going. You just keep going. And like that obedience to me is hard because I like numbers. Like, I'm a good Southern Baptist. I like to count how many people walk into the room, you know? So like stuff like that. But like speaking of that, so from your opinion, I feel like you're smarter than me. Okay, I know you're smarter than me. What do you do when you feel like the Lord's calling you to do something out of obedience for Him? Like, what's the steps?
I don't know.
Oh, well, you got. I need more than that.
Okay, well, I think one of the things, well, 2 things kinda come to my head, and I don't even know if this really answers your question. One of the areas as far as obedience that me and you are tasked with daily, and we probably need to do a whole 'nother recording on this because we don't It was our kids, is our family.
Yeah, we got it.
Meaning,
I told Betsy we need to do one on marriage, we need to do one on our kids, but that's gonna be like,
I know, that's a whole can of worms, but I say that to say the whole new trusting the Lord in the new things, meaning just as soon as we're like, "Oh my gosh, like, we're gonna be able to raise these kids, and we may make it out unscathed." That doesn't like, we're like, "Oh gosh, like, there's no chapter on this, like,
mm,
there's no way to prepare for." I can read all the books and talk to all the people, but when it comes to the door and hits with your unique child, it's like, "Lord, what you doing here?" And that's when I have a choice.
mm,
Either I can crumble, and I'm not gonna say that I don't, or I can
I'm like a cookie.
turn my face towards and seek him really, and it's not really in a pretty way. Often it's more of me, like I said, I'm really hard-headed and can be a fighter before I can resist and fall into what the Lord wants us to do. So that's an area that I feel like that's a daily thing as far as the kids. That's a whole 'nother can of worms. I think, for me, I don't really have an answer on how to be obedient other than you do it.
I know.
That's, like, so
It's like
profound.
that thing though, but it's like that thing, it's either like you a fight or you a flight person. I always tell people you a fight person. Like you don't like to flight. I'm a flight. Like if it's awkward or something like that, I just obviously just I walk away from the situation. So I think like that would I think a lot of people have that answer to the Lord too. Like if he's asking you to do something, you just fighting him. You're like, I ain't doing that. I'm not good enough for that, you know? Or you a flight person. He's asking you to do something, he's asking you to do something. You just ignoring it. And I think that's the thing is like there is nothing to prepare. You pray to the Lord. And if you have that feeling he's calling you to do that, then you have to walk in obedience.
And you gotta take your eyes off yourself.
Correct. And that's the hardest thing because Lord knows I love myself.
I think the reason why I've struggled in obedience is because I'm more consumed with me than I am consumed with who am I that I would not want to tell the world about him. And when I make it about me is when I don't obey.
Hmm.
And learning through parenting, through marriage, through even this recording, and I'm selfish. And I don't really like to be put out there, but how dare I?
Yeah.
Like, not like Jeremiah, not let this fire in my bones come out.
Hmm.
Also, one of the things the Lord has been so gracious to me in my life is there was a time when my dad was alive. I don't know, if he told me, you can jump as high as you want, then I believed I
Yeah.
could.
You always tell me that with the girls.
Yes, that voice was so loud. If he told me I could do it, then I didn't. I was doing it. Well, and that's part of my story, when he passed away and that voice was gone, what I've learned is I've had to really dig in that, like, my Father in heaven loves me way more than even my earthly father did, and I had a really good earthly father, so following my heavenly Father is even a greater experience, but if he has put the desire on my heart and he tells me to jump, how high?
That's
Where are
it.
we going?
Hmm.
But he also knows where I'm struggling, and I've learned when I truly cry out and be like, "Hey, like, you gotta send me a lifeline." My faith is little, it is weak, it is like a mustard seed, it's a breath at this point. There have been people that have come around me and even come around you to speak truth in life, who don't even know what's going on in the secret places, where the Lord has used them to encourage and exhort me to keep going, and they didn't even know it.
Yeah. I think he does. I always say he does that to me all the time. I always feel like he's like, Joe, like you thinking about the wrong thing. Like you're thinking about how many people show up to this or who wants to come or how many people. I always feel like he's telling me constantly, it ain't about that. It's not about that. It's about spreading the gospel and like the love of Jesus, whether it's with one person or 100 people. Like just to spread it with one person is worth it.
Oh,
But it's
yeah.
like, but it's just hard for us to like walk in that. But to do anything for him is so scary too, in my opinion, because you're always worried about like what people are going to think about it. Are you going to do it right? Is somebody going to question something you do? Like, did you do this wrong? Like, you did this wrong, or you might accidentally said this out loud. And like, I just think as believers, like, yes, we got to call out that stuff if it's incorrect, but like, do it in a loving way.
Yeah,
Like,
but I also feel in the spaces, which are few, like, I mean, we're just regular old folk,
we
just
regular
doing
folk,
regular old folk
just trying to
things.
survive.
But there are times when I'm like, Lord, it'd be way easier to shut up and sit down.
Yeah.
And it reminds me, or I'm about to start Hebrews, and I think it's chapter 10 or 11. It's where
Oh,
in the book, he's like, don't, my people don't shrink back.
that
Like, we are not called to that. And so again, it goes to this whole mindset of flipping it off about us and all about him. But we live in a world where I can see people, I can hear people, I can communicate and have relationship with people. So stepping out for the Lord, I never want to have the applause of man louder than hearing God's voice saying he is well pleased. I never want to
say
seek
that
that.
again.
Or I have no clue what I just
You
said.
just said you would rather you want the Lord's attention, not man's attention, is pretty much what you said.
Okay.
Because I think, because you said you don't want man's applause higher than the Lord's. Like, and I think that's it's very, very something that's important.
And in the same boat, we talked about the fear of judgment. I don't want those voices of man's critical thoughts towards me louder than if the Lord needs to correct where I'm at, he graciously doing that, or B, saying, just like with Jeremiah, this is about to be hard and it's about to be ugly and you're about to get a bloody nose from me, but like you keep going.
Yes. Y'all, I'm so talented. My microphone just fell, and I bet y'all didn't even hear it. But like, so like as we go up on our time here, but what I think is important and why we want to call this God's Got Jokes is because I feel like if he can use us, he can use anybody. And I
Okay.
just think that's so funny that he would pick us to like even do anything like this. You know? Like, especially you. I'm just kidding.
No,
But
for real. For
I'm
real.
just
I
kidding.
tell my
That was a
kids,
joke, y'all. That
no,
was a
it's
joke.
not. I tell my kids all the time, like, I'm the poster child of like what not to do. Ellen
Our
DeGeneres
oldest one will probably tell you she believes that statement.
had which that may be controversial to talk about her show, whatever. She had this lady on there talking about, and I can't even remember the line. It was some funny video, but she was like, "I love Jesus, Ellen, but I like,
Drink a little.
yeah, drink a little." And I feel like that lady sometimes, meaning if you are looking to me to have it all figured out, and I tell my kids this all the time, and not mess up, and I, I'm on, I'm a terrible idol.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever look to me that way. The-
Shit, what they say, you put your faith in man, you're gonna be very highly disappointed.
right. But I pray, even in the mess up, ugly, and the mistakes that I make, that somebody with time with me would be able to say, she's not perfect, but she loves Jesus. And that's all I got.
Well, she drank a little bit. Just kidding. So, like, so if you're listening to this and you feel like the Lord's telling you to be obedient about something, number one thing that I would do and what I have done in my past is number one, you need to pray. Like, you really need to make sure whatever you're about to do, you need to be suited up with the armor that talks about in Ephesians chapter 6, right? I hope I said that right. So you need to be suited up because anything you do for the Lord, you need to be suited up. You need to be ready. And if you probably need to just discuss it with, if you have a mentor or someone, just like shoot it from them to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. You're not doing it for self, and just check that. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, like, this is a prayer that I wrote after we, just to be honest about what this looks like, because I don't, you say pray, and people are like, what do we pray about? But I wrote after me and you talked about contentment last time, like, Lord, I lack self confidence. I struggle to trust in your hands that I'm safe. My mind and my heart know this truth is from you and that you will provide and you will protect me and you will guide me for your glory, not mine. But my faith is weak. Like, build my faith. affirm that what we are doing is only pleasing to you. Like Jeremiah, like Isaiah, touch my mouth, purify me, put your words in these recordings alone, and then put me in a place where, like fire in my bones, these
Mhm.
words have to get out. Like I have to tell about you. And so, also, I always want to close with obedience may look like just doing the next practical thing,
Mhm.
meaning you get a text message from your mother-in-law, which I love my mother-in-law, so that's probably a bad example, but hypothetically, from somebody else, and it triggers a response that it's emotional, and you wanna flash back with words. Maybe obedience in that moment looks like putting your phone down, walking away for a minute, and seeking the Lord and be like, "Hey, I'm feeling some type of way,
Correct.
and before I respond, I'm gonna need you to help me." And
Mhm.
you may not get that right away. It may be days and weeks, but maybe that's I don't want obedience to look like I'm searching for health, wealth, and prosperity. I'm searching for a platform. I'm searching to start something big for the Lord. No, maybe obedience is I just keep my mouth shut in the situation.
Yeah.
Maybe obedience is these kids, I'm at 10 and I need to remove myself for a minute so that when I respond, it's in a godly way and not in a way that's going to cause more damage than good. Maybe obedience is I'm in a situation, it's making me very uncomfortable. I need to get out of it now. Maybe obedience is I'm going to, around this group of people, really watch my language because when I cuss, it does not reflect the glory of the Lord. And words are one of the easiest ways that we can be different to a world that's watching us. So maybe that's what obedience is.
Heck yeah, I'm glad you said that. That is great. That was fantastic, and I think we can close on that. So, as we close, and we just wanna appreciate you for joining us, and we just laugh with the Lord every time we talk on these things, but go out there and be obedient. Go out there and be obedient to Jesus. So, that's all we got.